Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Today we are breaking down 3 S-tier solo SMG builds for Title Update 20, which includes the best gear pieces, weapons, specializations, and playstyle for each setup. All 3 of these builds excel in close quarters engagements. Each build is equipped with tons of damage and includes additional sources to help you increase your survivability. Even though these SMG builds require you to play up close and personal, each build still offers a unique playstyle, allowing you to choose the way you want to play without sacrificing any damage or survivability in the process. The first SMG build that we're breaking down today uses a combination of the best SMG gear set with one of the best in slot exotics in the Division 2. The Hunter's Fury gear set is one of the most powerful gear sets in the game because it increases your SMG damage, provides armor on kill for extra survivability, and also debuffs your enemies, amplifying your damage against them by 20%. In addition to these perks, each debuffed enemy that's killed disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies damage even further by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. The reason Hunter's Fury is so powerful is because it offers a handful of different ways to not only amplify your damage, but also to give you the advantage during every single engagement. One of the easiest ways to increase the performance of Hunter's Fury is by including the Exotic Memento backpack on your build. The Memento comes equipped with all 3 core attributes, which means your weapon damage, armor, and skill efficiency will increase. The highlight of the Memento backpack is the Kill Confirmed talent, which provides short-term and long-term buffs for your agent. Each enemy you kill drops a trophy, and each trophy you pick up will provide a short-term buff based on the amount of red, blue, and yellow core attributes on the build. This build currently has 3 red core attributes, 4 armor core attributes, and 1 skill tier, which means every time you pick up a trophy, your weapon damage is increased by 15%, you stack 40% bonus armor, and you also gain 5% skill efficiency. In addition to these short-term buffs, with every trophy you collect, your agent will gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regeneration for 300 seconds, stacking up to 30 times. This means at max Memento stacks, you'll add 30% extra weapon damage and skill efficiency to your build, as well as 3% armor regeneration. You are going to feel unstoppable while using this build, and this is thanks to the Hunter's Fury and Memento combination. To achieve the highest possible performance with this build, you need to reach max stacks with the Memento and continuously gather trophies to stack bonus armor, which helps you push enemies and stay alive. To make the most out of the armor on kill bonuses from Hunter's Fury, I'm using the Gunner specialization. Killing enemies grants 10% armor on kill, every 3rd reload is 50% faster, armor kits repair 100% armor and grant 30% bonus armor for 5 seconds, and you also gain access to the Banshee Pulse skill. My main weapon of choice on this build is the Lady Death Exotic SMG. Now, the reason I prefer using the Lady Death over the Ouroboros on this build is because I feel like the Ouroboros is best utilized with strikers. The Lady Death comes equipped with the Breathe Free talent, which allows you to stack extra amplified damage while moving up to 75%. The 20% movement speed buff for 10 seconds works incredibly well on this build because the speed boost helps you gather trophies faster. That means more bonus armor and more damage in a shorter amount of time. My Lady Death is expertise 17, so I'm gaining an additional 17% weapon damage on top of the 15% SMG damage, 20% crit chance, and 6% damage to armor. For my secondary, the Mop shotgun, which rolls exclusively with 10% armor on kill as one of the attributes. A perfect secondary for a Hunter's Fury build since you gain 15% shotgun damage from the gear set, and you can also increase the strength of your armor on kill. For the talent Optimist, weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. Starting with the first piece of gear on the build, Hunter's Fury Mask with max armor, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. The 2-piece bonus for Hunter's Fury unlocks 15% SMG and shotgun damage, the 3-piece adds 20% armor on kill and 50% health on kill, and the 4-piece unlocks Apex Predator. Enemies within 15 meters receive a debuff, amplifying your damage against them by 20%. Killing a debuffed enemy disorients other enemies within 5 meters and amplifies weapon damage by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Next, Grupo Sombra chest piece, which adds 15% crit hit damage to the build. Max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit hit damage with a max crit damage mod. Collectively on this build, I have 52% crit hit chance and 150% crit hit damage. For the chest piece talent, Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. Easily one of the best DPS talents this update because the damage buff duration was increased to 10 seconds, basically doubling the amount of time you have that extra damage. After that, Hunter's Fury holster with max armor and 11.4% crit hit damage. Next, the Exotic Memento backpack. Like I mentioned earlier, the Memento comes with 3 core attributes, which means your weapon damage, armor, and skill efficiency will increase. The Kill Confirm talent provides a short-term and long-term buff for your agent. Each enemy you kill drops a trophy, and each trophy you pick up will provide a short-term buff based on the amount of core attributes you have on the build. In addition to these short-term buffs, every trophy you collect, your agent will gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regeneration for 300 seconds, stacking up to 30 times. This means as soon as you reach max Memento stacks, you'll have 30% extra weapon damage and skill efficiency on the build, as well as 3% armor regeneration. Next, Hunter's Fury gloves with max armor and max crit chance. And lastly, Hunter's Fury knee pads with max weapon damage and max crit hit damage. For the skills, I'm using the Banshee Pulse and Riot Foam. Both are great for immobilizing your enemies so you can build Obliterate stacks and even gather more trophies. You'll typically want something similar to these when you're running an SMG build because you'll be fighting up close and you don't want too many enemies shooting you at once. This next SMG build is designed to eliminate enemies very quickly while rewarding you with tons of extra damage in the process. Since this build has lower armor, we're using the new Steelworks brand set, the Death Grip gloves, and the Gunner specialization to achieve 30% armor on kill for each consecutive enemy defeated. Our main source of damage, the Striker's Battle gear set, combined with the fastest killing SMG in the game, the Ouroboros. With almost 1700 RPM, this SMG has the capabilities to melt NPCs in less than a second, and this is thanks to the Striker's Gamble 4-piece bonus on the Striker's gear set. To reach maximum damage output in a very short amount of time, I'm using the Striker's backpack, which comes equipped with the Risk Management talent. Now typically Strikers would only increase your weapon damage by 0.65% up to 100 stacks, but with the Risk Management talent, that damage can be nearly doubled. This means at max Striker stacks, we can achieve 100% extra damage instead of 65%. Since damage is prioritized over survivability on this build, it's important to play your angles and always stay aggressive. The more enemies you kill and the quicker you take them down, the faster you'll be able to replenish your armor. To increase survivability even more, the armor on kill feels more rewarding when combined with a Crusader shield. At tier 3, you'll have enough shield health to mow down enemies, giving them literally no chance to fight back. I have to say, out of all 3 SMG builds on today's list, this one definitely has the fastest time to kill, and it's also the most satisfying to use because of 3 reasons. Very high rate of fire, 30% armor on kill per enemy defeated, and the ability to stack 100% extra weapon damage. The Ouroboros SMG also has impressive range. Once you reach max stacks with Strikers, you'll find it incredibly easy to kill any NPCs within 25 to 30 meters. This build is a must-have for anyone that wants a very fast time to kill, combined with exceptional survivability. Since armor on kill is going to be your main source of survivability, you want to use the Gunner specialization. Killing enemies grants 10% armor on kill, every third reload is 50% faster, armor kits grant 100% armor and an additional 30% bonus armor for 5 seconds, and you also gain access to the Banshee Pulse. The primary weapon on this build is the Ouroboros Exotic SMG, currently one of the best exotic weapons in the entire game. This SMG can only be obtained from the Paradise Lost incursion. You have a chance to receive the SMG as a random drop from the final boss or from the chest at the end of the incursion. You can see here nearly 1700 RPM with Strikers, expertise 18, giving me 18% extra weapon damage in addition to 15% SMG damage, 20% crit chance, and 10% damage to targets out of cover. Even though the talent on this SMG isn't the greatest for DPS, it's an easy way to apply status effects back to NPCs, especially when you have the special ammo global directive activated. When the agent has a status effect applied to them, 50% of the ammo in their next magazine will apply the same status effect to their targets. For my secondary, the Mop named Shotgun with 10% armor on kill and Optimist. Weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. This shotgun will reward you with 40% armor on kill per enemy defeated. For the mask, my first piece of striker battle gear, max weapon damage, crit chance, and a max crit damage mod. You can see here collectively striker provides 15% weapon handling, 15% extra rate of fire, and the striker's gamble talent. Since the build uses the striker's backpack, the risk management talent will increase weapon damage by 1%, stacking up to 100 times. For the chest piece, I'm using the new Palisade Steelworks brand set, which provides 10% armor on kill. I have max armor, 6% weapon handling, max crit hit damage with a max crit damage mod. For the talent, Obliterate. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. On this build, I currently have 53% crit hit chance and 135% crit damage, with nearly 400k armor on kill per enemy, 520k armor on kill with the Mop shotgun. Next, Striker's holster with max weapon damage and 10.3% crit hit damage, Striker's backpack with max weapon damage, crit damage with a max crit damage mod, and the risk management talent, which increases our Striker's gamble damage output. For the gloves, the death grips, which include 10% armor on kill as one of the stats, with 6% crit hit chance, and lastly, Striker's knee pads with max armor and crit hit damage. For the skills, I like to use the Defender drone with the Crusader shield for extra survivability, since I like to play aggressive with this build. My Defender drone is expertise 14, giving me 14% extra damage reduction. With no skill tiers on the build, I have 24% damage reduction from NPCs. A quick tip, if you use an SMG with the Future Perfect talent, you can stack skill tiers per kill, and it will increase the power of your Defender drone and shield. This last SMG build is an easy build to put together, has a simple playstyle, and deals a lot of damage. Without the need for gear sets, we use two powerful talents that synergize incredibly well together: Intimidate and Bloodsucker. Each enemy you kill with this build adds a stack of 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. This means after 10 kills, you can maintain 100% bonus armor as long as you kill enemies fast and frequently. The easiest way to do this is with the Lady Death Exotic SMG. That 20% movement speed buff makes you a difficult target for enemies, and it'll help you stack Bloodsucker a lot faster. Every time Bloodsucker is active, you'll immediately feel Intimidate kick in, giving you 30% extra amplified damage. The main objective for this build is to stack and maintain bonus armor from Bloodsucker while destroying enemies in the process. To make this build more lethal, you add the Exotic Coyote's mask, which adds 25% crit hit damage to all enemies within 15 meters. With 60% crit hit chance and 185% crit damage on the build, you're looking at 210% crit hit damage during close quarters fights. You can increase your damage even further if you use an SMG with Strained. To make the most out of this build, you really want to play smart and make the right plays at the right times, but I promise you, once you get it down, you are going to feel unstoppable. For the specialization, pretty much anything works. I'm using Gunner for the armor on kill, reload speed, and the Banshee Pulse. Lady Death is going to feel best in slot for this build just because of the Breathe Free talent, which allows you to stack extra amplified damage while moving up to 75%. The 20% movement speed buff for 10 seconds works incredibly well on this build because the speed boost helps you stack Bloodsucker faster. My Lady Death is expertise 17, so I'm gaining an additional 17% weapon damage on top of the 15% SMG damage, 20% crit chance, and 6% damage to armor. For my secondary, I'm using the MP5 ST with Strained. Now I like this SMG because it has a perfect fire rate at 800 RPM, and with this many rounds you can utilize Strained more often and kill multiple enemies with one magazine. With strain, you gain 10% crit hit damage for every 0.5 seconds you are firing, stacking up to 5 times. This means after 2.5 seconds of firing, you'll maintain 50% extra crit hit damage. First piece of gear on the build, the Exotic Coyote's Mask. Max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit hit damage with a max crit damage mod. The Pack Instincts talent will provide a 25% crit hit damage buff to your build, since all enemies you target will typically be within 15 meters. For the chest piece, Sokolov Concern, first of 2 pieces, giving me 10% SMG damage and 15% crit hit damage. Max armor, crit chance, and crit damage with a max crit damage mod, and the Intimidate talent. The talent description needs to be updated since the talent actually got buffed this patch, but it's supposed to say while you have bonus armor, gain 3 stacks each second to a max of 9, increasing your weapon damage by 4% per stack. Next, the Picaro's named holster with max armor, 12% crit hit damage, and 15% weapon damage. Walker Harris backpack, which provides 5% extra weapon damage. I have max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit hit damage with the Bloodsucker talent. Killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Next, Sokolov Concern gloves with max armor, crit chance, and crit damage. And lastly, Grupo Sombra knee pads, which add 15% crit hit damage to the build. I have max weapon damage, crit chance, and crit hit damage. Currently, for my Lady Death, I have 60% crit hit chance and 185% crit damage, and keep in mind that's excluding all of the crit damage buffs on the build. For my skills, I'm using the Banshee Pulse and Riot Foam. Like I said earlier, they're amazing for immobilizing enemies. You can stack Bloodsucker bonus armor faster and then utilize the Intimidate damage. Thank you all so much for watching the entire video and sticking around until the end. If you want to see the top 3 solo hybrid builds in the Division 2, I'll put a link at the top of the screen right now for anyone that's interested. If you like this video, you'll enjoy the next one for sure. If you enjoyed your time here today, a thumbs up would be very much appreciated. If you want to see more Division content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on those bell notifications so you are notified every time I drop a new video.